Cronin here from Exit Riverbend Realty, and today I have brought on Avon Cobourne. He's a loan originator with Gateway Mortgages, and he's graciously offered to give us some of his time and answer some of the commonly asked questions that buyers often have for loan officers. So I'm excited to have him here today, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. So go ahead, Avon. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
How you doing, guys? I am Avon Cobourne with Gateway Mortgage. We're actually located downtown Charleston on Virginia Street, 1202 Virginia Street East to be exact. I've been a lender for a year now, and it was actually fantastic because I got into the game when there were a million loans for me to work. So I got a whole lot of practice or a lot of reps in a short period of time. But some of you may or may not know that I used to be a football player, played for WVU. I all-time leading rusher in West Virginia history. And I'm not saying that to impress you, but I'm going to tell you to impress upon that the reason why I got to where I was, it wasn't because I was the biggest, it wasn't because I was the strongest, it wasn't because I was the fastest. If you ask anybody that knows me or that knows of me, it's because I outworked everybody. and that's what I bring to the table here with Gateway. And I mean, it's been an awesome ride this last year. I learned a whole lot in a short period of time, which is great.
Awesome. I mean, I can already tell with your personality that you're a go-getter, and can honestly say that a lot of my clients, and I've heard that when I've given them a list or try to help them find a lender, that's one of their biggest complaints, is that they get an officer who doesn't seem to have the time for them. So I'm excited to introduce you to more people. So
my wife hates the fact that I'm such a aggressive person when it comes to, getting things done, because she has to give something up, and she understands something has to give.
So one of the other common questions we had for you was, what types of loans specifically would you say Gateway specializes in?
So we really have four types of loans. I mean, we specific, like when we talk, Gateway and we do our loans, it's really four specific. So we have a conventional loan, which is, I would say, the best loan that you can get unless you're a vet, that you can get is a conventional loan. Less paperwork. It's done faster. The appraisal is not as stringent. Then you go down to, and that one requires about a 5% down payment. If you didn't know, conventional loans about 5% down. Unless you're a first-time home buyer and you make a certain amount, we can get you at 3%, which is probably one of the best. But you can't make over a certain amount, and it's kind of tight to get into that window. But if we can help you get into it, I'll do that as well. We have the FHA loan. FHA is you're probably gonna get the best interest rate with the FHA loan because we do a lot of, because it's government backed. So if someone would happen to default on the loan, the government is going to pay the mortgage company. So they're going to give you the best interest rate. And then you have, that's a 3.5% down payment on that loan. Then you have a USDA loan. USDA loan is a loan that is government backed, so it's actually pretty good. You get a really good interest rate on that one. Not as good as you get on FHA, but you get a pretty good interest rate. But the big thing about USDA is that you have just a zero down payment. But again, with that one, there's going to be a lot more paperwork, and there's an income restriction, and there's actually a location restriction as well. So if you live in a city and you make over a certain amount, you're probably not going to be able to get into that zero down payment loan. We're actually in the works of talking to another local West Virginia provider, and I'm hoping we can get in contact with them. But then the last one that we have is a VA loan. And this is for anybody that serves in our military, that protects and serves and gives us the opportunities to come on Zoom and not have to worry about, somebody dropping missiles on us. So for those people, they kind of get almost the sweetest deal. It's kind of a conventional loan, but with the government backing. So, and depending on, your disability ratios, it can eliminate a lot of stuff for you. with those loans. But then we also, when you kind of get into the weeds, we do construction loans, like, stick built from the ground up. And then we do 203K loans, which allows you to, they allow you to get, I think it's up to about $7,000 to fix up a home. So those are kind of it's really four, but those are the six that we kind of, that we do.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's why I try to convince people to understand that sometimes people don't realize they have opportunities, even if they have very little down.
Absolutely.
In the Parkersburg area, there's some actual areas where you can be in town and be a street over and you're in USDA.
Absolutely.
So we deal with a lot of those. And I'm always surprised. People are always surprised. They're like, this is the country part. I'm like, it is in USDA. And it won't feel that way.
Zero down.
But you're right. It does take a lot more time. There are negatives with it. I know what you mean paperwork wise. So what typical information do you need to get when someone first gives you a call? They're like, hey, Avon, I want to apply for a loan. What's the, there are a lot of people are nervous about sharing their information. So what do you typically need?
And I try, I mean, we have two options that we typically do. I prefer for us. So the first option that I always give them is say, look, if you guys don't feel comfortable giving me your information, we actually have an application that we can send to you online. And you can download, you can fill out all the application online, in the comfort of your own home, and then it will come right back to me. Even actually, when you start the application, I'll get a notification on my phone that says, hey, Donna has just started an application. And now I'm like, okay, cool. If you have any questions, I can actually see exactly where you are throughout the process. So we try to make it as easy and hands off, or I like to go hands on because I know, for one, it's going to get done. It's going to get done. And if you have somebody that calls me, I'm going to tell them we can do it online, but I would prefer to get this information. And the information that I ask for is just basic information. And this is basically how I say it every time. I'm like, so what we're going to do, I'm going to give you a little agenda of what it is that I'm going to need to get you pre-qualified for this loan. So basically I would need name, date of birth, social, 2 years of living history, 2 years of work history, some basic banking information. I don't need any account numbers unless you want to give them to me. And then I would need to ask you some mortgage questions, which is our declarations, and then ethnicity questions. And I get a lot of pushback on ethnicity, but they want to know, like, the government wants to know who's getting loans and why is these, they want to make sure there's no discrimination in it. So explain that to them well. Like, when we get to this portion, and I mean, I know it by heart, it's Hispanic or Latino, not Hispanic or Latino, or you do not wish to answer. Whatever it is that you prefer to do, if you don't want to answer it, cool. But I'm eventually gonna get the information when you send me your driver's license. So I'll be able to see it then. Yeah. But again, we want to make sure that people are getting fair treatment. So we ask those questions, and it's basic, it's simple, and I try to get it done. And it doesn't take very long unless you've worked in 7 different jobs in the last 5 years. Because what happens is we got to get the name, we got to get the address, we got to get the phone number, we got to get the day you started, and the month, day, and year you started, and then we have to get when you end it. Then we got to go get the same thing for the next one. So that could take a little bit longer. And the same with housing. So if you lived in 6 different houses, we got to get, because you got to have 2 years of living history. So that can that's the only reason why it'll take a little longer than what I would want it to.
Okay. And what would you say is your time for getting it back to somebody, like if they're approved or not approved, pre-approval?
And if it's not complicated at all, I can get it done in 10 minutes. Like, I mean, USDA is a little bit different. Like, if you give me an application and I'll say, look, and what happens a lot of times is, because this is a great time for lenders, is as soon as I get off the phone with you, I get a call with somebody else, and I'll tell them, I say, look, I can get this back to you in 10 minutes unless I have an issue or somebody calls me. And most of the time, if it's USDA, I always get off the phone because it takes a little bit longer. I got to go through a couple different processes because it's not, I have to leave the site and then go do something. It's just a little bit more complicated. Right. But if it's FHA, VA, and conventional, I mean, if it's simple, I can get it done in 10 minutes. I mean, or less. But if it's complicated, if you got some issues going on where your debt to income ratios are too high, and then I gotta call you back and say, okay, well, what can we do for this? I can't get you pre-qualified because we gotta figure out what we need to do. But for the most part, if you give it to me and I don't have, it's not a challenge. I can get it done in 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are hesitant to call at first, and I'm always like, it's not really that hard. Just make a few phone calls, and you should hear back soon. And it gives a lot more buying power. I'm like, because right now the market's hot. I just wanted to take someone to a house today, and it was on the market yesterday. Before our showing, it was already under contract. I mean, and my client has a pre-approval, but I'm like, if you don't have that pre-approval and you decide you like it, you need to offer right now. It's good to have your pre-approvals.
It's going to be gone.
So a lot of people ask about closing costs. What would you like to say about your closing costs? Like how you can handle it, what options people might have?
So, I mean, to be honest with you, I think we have the lowest closing costs in I don't know, I think out of most companies. Most companies, I mean, and I'm just giving you, our closing costs range between $2,000 and $4,000 for, you get a $300,000 house. It might be, it's going to go up, but our closing costs I think are the lowest. But there are several different options that you can use when you have closing costs. The first one is you can actually pay them. That's one option. If you have the cash, you can pay them. But a lot of people that I try to, I don't try. I actually do. That's one of the things that my family, we have a saying: we don't try, we do. And my daughter, she'll get me every time. She'll be like, "No, Daddy, we don't try, we do." So what I'll do is I'll talk to the client and say, "Look, one of the options that you have is that you can actually ask the sellers to pay for your closing costs, and most realtors understand that. But that's probably the best way. So if your closing costs are $3,000, $3,000, just ask them to pay for it. But if they don't want to do that, so the first option is you can pay it. The second option is that you can ask the sellers to pay it, and then the third option is that if the house appraises for a little bit more than what your house, what it's worth, you can actually roll those closing costs and your prepaid, which is taxes and insurance. You can roll them into the loan. So let's just say your closing cost is $5,000. The house appraises for $150,000, and you put an offer in for $145,000. You can actually roll those closing costs, that $5,000 into the loan. It'll raise your price $25 a month, give or take. I mean, we say for every $50, for every 10,000, it's $50 to $55. So, you can add that in there, raise your price $25 a month, $15 to $25 a month, and that's less money you have to bring to the table, depending on what type of loan that you have. So USDA, I 100% always ask them to, ask the sellers to pay for it, and if they don't, if the house appraises for a lot more, we can actually just roll it into the loan. And if they only pay half, we say, okay, they're going to pay 35. Let's just say it's $5,000. They'll pay $250,000. I mean, they'll pay $2,500, and then we can roll that other $2,500 into the loan, where you don't have to bring that money to the table. So those are the options that we always, 100% always. We want the sellers, and I know realtors are like, the selling agents, the listing agents, like, hold on, no, we're not doing that. We want. I get it, but it helps out the sellers, and 9 times the sellers, the buyers are not gonna pay for it anyway, so they're like, just go ahead and ask.
Okay, well, you're right. They're commonly ones. I deal with it a lot, but I like people to hear it from the lender. It's like, let's hear what you all want to say. So right now we're dealing with COVID, and people have lapses in their appointment. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to address that and what you say to people that might have a few weeks of unemployment back in September.
Yeah, it's so simple. Our company, we have a great company. Our company does a lot for our community, and they understand. They understand. There's a lot of people that put their loans in deferment because they lost their jobs. And the people that are trying to the people that are buying a home, we understand that. We understand. So, if you've been off of work for the last 6 months and you go back to that job, or if you started a new job, all we require you to do is to write a letter of explanation saying, I had a job, I lost it. And that's basically it. I had a job, I lost it. And, I just started. That's why I haven't been working for the last 6 months. I got laid off due to COVID. You give us that, and all you would need to do in order for us to really close on your loan is give us a month of bank statements.
Okay.
And after that, as long as you've been working for a month and we have a month of bank statements, and they line up with what you told me as far as, I make, I work 40 hours a week. I make, $15 an hour. If it lines up that way and it can be verified, and you got a month of bank statements, we can get your loan closed.
All right. Well, I'm sure people will be excited to hear that one right now. That's a real nerve-wracking one. Well, I appreciate.
I can help you.
I'm sorry?
No, I said, call me. I can help you.
Well, I'm going to be handing your name out. That's for sure. Well, I appreciate your time tonight, Avon. It was exciting to get to know you, get to put a face with your name, and let my lenders. I'm hoping when I meet somebody that they're looking for a loan, I can say, hey, it's on my Facebook page. Go meet Avon there if you want to check him out and feel about personality-wise.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to really just come before your audience. I know you're widely respected, and I just, me being, fairly new, but I learn fast. I mean, you don't get to where you get to from not, and I want to thank, I mean, I don't want to thank people losing their jobs, but from the opportunities that was afforded from the COVID-19 and the rates dropping, it gave me a lot of reps. I've cut my teeth, and I mean, I've messed up a butt ton, but I've corrected a lot of that, and hopefully I didn't make too many people upset in my growth process, but I had a lot of opportunities to do it. So, I mean, it's just like football. You get reps, and I appreciate, the opportunities that I got to kind of learn what I learned. And I don't think I would have had the opportunity to learn as fast as I did if it wasn't for the government dropping rates and giving me, people to talk to. So, and most importantly, I mean, you are amazing. I appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform and kind of talk about what I do.
Well, my broker's real excited about all these different interviews that we're going to try and do. And it was a great opportunity for all of us. I think we're all going to enjoy this together and benefit. So you have a good evening. And thanks again, Avon. It was great talking with you.
Great talking to you as well. You have a great evening as well.
All right.
And thank you, guys.
Bye.
Call me.
Yeah.
Call me.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.